Hi everyone, this is Cooking with Kurt. Today, my husband Donald and I are going to show you how to make an ube egg pie. This is a flaky, buttery pie crust with a delicious ube egg and coconut pie filling.
This recipe was requested by a lot of you. Thanks so much for your requests, and we hope you like this video.
To start, take 3 eggs and separate them into yolks and whites. These will be used for the ube egg pie filling later. Let them come completely to room temperature and set them aside for now. If you have ube halaya in the fridge, measure out half a cup and let it come to room temperature. Next, we're going to work on the flaky pie crust. In the bowl of a food processor, add 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1½ teaspoons of granulated sugar, and ½ teaspoon of table salt, and pulse it a couple of times to mix the dry ingredients. Add 8 tablespoons, which is 1 stick, of cold, unsalted butter that's been cut into pieces. Pulse this till the pieces of butter are the size of small peas. Add 1/4 cup plus 1 tablespoon of ice-cold water, and pulse till the mixture just comes together. Transfer this mixture into a large mixing bowl. Knead the mixture into the bottom of the bowl with your hands until it forms a cohesive dough. Shape the dough into a disc and wrap in plastic wrap. Place the dough in the fridge for 1 hour or in the freezer for 15 minutes to chill the dough and ensure the butter stays cold. When your dough has chilled, flour your clean counter, place your cold dough on the flour, and roll it into a 13 to 14-inch circle using a lightly floured rolling pin. Gently fold it into quarters and transfer it into a 9-inch pie pan and unfold. Making sure not to stretch the dough, gently press it into the pie pan from the outside in to make sure it fits snugly. Then trim the excess dough that's overhanging from the rim of the pie shell with scissors or a sharp knife, so the edges of the dough are flush with the edges of the pie shell. Our ceramic pie shells are very slippery, so our pie crusts tend to slip and shrink during par baking. To flute the crust, I like to press my thumb on the dough and use my forefinger and middle finger to make a V shape, pressing from outside towards the inside. This way, the crust will cling onto the pie shell rim during the par baking process and will create a nice wavy pattern along the outside of the pie. Put the formed pie crust in the freezer for a minimum of 30 minutes. When the formed pie crust has chilled in the freezer for 30 minutes, we're ready to par bake the pie crust, also known as baking it blind. The pockets of butter will melt and release steam to create a flaky texture, and it will also remove excess moisture to prevent the base of the pie from being soggy.
Exactly. This ensures the crust is flaky and crispy throughout the pie.
Place an oven rack on the lowest position and preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit for a minimum of 15 minutes. Place your frozen pie shell in the middle of a sheet pan or baking sheet. Cut a round piece of parchment paper that has the edges cut into frays so it folds into the pie shell easily. The parchment paper will prevent the foil from sticking to the crust. On top of the parchment paper, place a double layer of heavy-duty aluminum foil that's also circular in shape with the edges folded up. And press the edges of the foil against the edges of the pie crust. The double layer of foil will help support the walls of the pie crust and prevent them from sagging during the par baking process. Finally, place baking beans or weights on top of the foil and spread them out. We're using ceramic baking beans. Par bake your pie crust on the lowest rack at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes. Then take the pie crust out of the oven and carefully remove the foil with baking beans and the parchment paper. Using a fork, dock the bottom and sides of the pie crust to deflate any puffing in the crust. Tent the sides of the pie crust with a ring of aluminum foil to prevent the edges of the pie from getting overbaked. Crimp it down and secure it to make sure it doesn't fall off. Return this pie crust along with the baking dish it's on into the oven and continue par baking it in the lowest rack at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for another 10 minutes. Remove it from the oven, peel off the ring of foil, but save it in case we need to use it again later. Again, using a fork, dock the bottoms and sides of the crust to deflate any puffing up as needed. Let the par-baked pie crust rest at room temperature. You can keep the oven on at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for now.
Now that our crust is ready, we're going to make our Ube Egg Pie filling. Make sure all of the ingredients are at room temperature. Take a large mixing bowl, add in the 3 room temperature egg yolks from earlier, 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk, 1 14 fluid ounce can of unsweetened coconut cream, the half cup of ube halaya we had measured earlier, 1 tablespoon of ube extract, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Whisk these together very thoroughly till everything is well combined and smooth. Set this aside for now. In the bowl of your stand mixer, add in the 3 room temperature egg whites. With a whisk attachment, beat on medium-high speed until stiff peaks form. It should look something like this. 1/3 at a time, gently fold in the whipped egg whites into the ube filling mixture until well combined. Some of the egg white foam will remain clumpy and not smooth, and that's okay. These whipped egg whites will give the egg pie its signature dark brown crust on top. Before pouring our filling into our crust, take a small mixing bowl, add in 1 egg and 1 tablespoon of water. Beat this egg wash until it is smooth and brush all surfaces of the crust with the egg wash. This will give the final crust a golden brown finish and help seal the bottom of the pie. Using a sieve or cheesecloth to remove any lumps, strain the Ube Egg Pie filling mixture into the prepared pie crust. Use a spoon to help press the mixture through the strainer.
Bake this on the lowest rack at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, turn down the temperature to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for another 15 minutes. Check on the pie at the 15-minute mark. If you see the exposed edges of the crust are already golden brown, use the ring of aluminum foil from earlier to tent the sides of the pie crust to prevent the edges of the pie from getting over-baked. As before, crimp it down and secure it to make sure it doesn't fall off. Return the pie to the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit facing the opposite direction so it's rotated to bake more evenly for another 45 minutes, for a total of 1 hour at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. This is our pie after 1 hour at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. It's done when the sides are set, but the center still looks jiggly. The center will firm up as the pie cools. Remove the foil ring and let it cool completely to room temperature on a metal rack. Then refrigerate it overnight to let it finish setting. And there it is, a Filipino-style Ube Egg Pie with a homemade flaky pie crust from scratch. Ang sarap!
Yum!
So good. That's a flaky, crispy, buttery crust right there.
And the Ube Egg Pie filling is so smooth and creamy. Love it.
Thank you all so much for watching. Please let us know in the comment section below if you're planning to make this Ube Egg Pie. Send us pictures of your creations on Facebook and Instagram. The links are below. And if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Cooking with Kurt.
And don't forget to click on the bell so you get notified when we post new cooking videos. And for our written recipes, be sure to check out cookingwithkurt.com.
Maraming salamat!